All right, we are about to explore a connection that you probably, almost certainly, never saw coming. We're talking about T.S. Eliot's famous poem, The Wasteland, and the totally mind-bending world of quantum physics.
And yeah, I know exactly what you're thinking. What on earth could a poem, full of ancient myths and despair, have to do with the hard science of subatomic particles? It sounds completely impossible, right?
I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got art, history, and just raw human emotion. And on the other, you have science, mathematics, and cold, hard logic. They really do seem like polar opposites. But you gotta stick with me here, because the hidden connection reveals something truly incredible about how we, as humans, respond when our world falls into crisis.
Now, this secret link, it isn't about T.S. Eliot secretly reading physics papers in his study. No. It's something much, much deeper. It's about being born in the exact same, completely shattered moment in history.
You see, both the poem, which came out in 1922, and the foundational ideas of quantum mechanics, they were both born in the same fiery crucible of the early 20th century. This was a time when the old, predictable world was just being dismantled piece by piece, both culturally and scientifically.
So, this massive collapse of certainty, it forced both art and science to invent entirely new languages, completely new ways of describing a reality that they just didn't recognize anymore.
Think about it. Before World War I, the world felt, orderly. You had Newtonian physics that described this predictable, clockwork universe, and society really believed in progress and stable values. And then the Great War happened, and that entire worldview was just annihilated. In the ashes, a new reality came into being, one that was fragmented, strange, and fundamentally uncertain. And it's this new world that both The Wasteland and quantum mechanics were built to describe.
Okay, so our first big parallel here starts with the very structure of reality itself. Both fields started to see the world, not as some cohesive whole, but as a collection of broken pieces, of fragments.
So, in the quantum world, things aren't solid or definite until we actually look at them. A single particle can be in many places at once, just existing as this cloud of possibilities. It's a state they call superposition. I mean, it's a completely bizarre idea that just shatters our everyday view of a single, solid reality.
Now, think about The Wasteland. Reading it feels exactly like this. One second, you're in a loud London pub. The next, you're hearing German. And then suddenly you're with an ancient Greek prophet. The poem is this chaotic jumble of different voices and times, all just existing at once on the page.
And the parallel here is absolutely stunning. You see, just like a quantum field holds this entire universe of all possible states for a particle, Eliot's poem holds a universe of all our cultural fragments, the sacred, the profane, the past, the present, all of it held together in a kind of literary superposition.
And what's amazing is, Eliot himself tells us exactly what he's doing with this line. He's literally taking the broken pieces of a civilization and shoring them up, propping them up against total collapse. He's creating a new kind of fractured whole. Okay, so if reality is just this cloud of possibilities, what makes it snap into a single real thing? Well, both art and science landed on a startlingly similar answer: the simple act of looking. This brings us to the strange and frankly powerful role of the observer.
In quantum mechanics, this is famously called the observer effect. The act of measuring a particle, it literally forces it out of that cloud of possibilities, its superposition, and makes it choose a single state. Observation isn't a passive act here. It is an active part of creating the reality it observes.
And what's so remarkable is that The Wasteland works the exact same way. There is no single correct meaning to find. The poem's real power comes from how it transforms depending on who is reading it. Your own knowledge, your emotions, your personal experiences, they all change what the poem means to you.
So the reader of the poem, you become the quantum observer. Your consciousness actively collapses the poem's infinite potential meanings into one concrete, personal interpretation. It's just like how a scientist's measurement collapses a particle's wave of possibilities into one definite place. You're not just reading the poem, you're actually completing it.
But hold on.
If the observer creates reality just by looking, that leads to a really profound, even unsettling consequence. It means a world of perfect objective knowledge is simply not possible.
This is Werner Heisenberg's famous uncertainty principle. At its heart, it says there's a fundamental limit to what we can know about the universe. The more precisely you measure where a particle is, the less precisely you can know where it's going, and vice versa. There's always a trade-off. You can't have both.
The wasteland is basically built on this same foundation of ambiguity. It asks these huge universal questions about life, death, faith, and love, but it deliberately, stubbornly refuses to give you any clear answers. It denies us that comfort of certainty.
And that same trade-off is right there in the poem. If you focus too hard on, say, nailing down every single historical reference in a line, you might completely lose its raw emotional power. By gaining one kind of clarity, you lose another. Perfect, total understanding, just like in quantum physics, stays forever, just out of reach.
Just think about that line for a second. It's incredibly powerful, it's deeply meaningful, we feel its truth in our bones. But what does it precisely mean? You can't pin it down. It's a statement of profound but fundamentally uncertain truth, just like the universe Heisenberg was describing.
So, in the end, this was never about influence. It's not about Elliot reading physics. It's something much deeper, much more fascinating. It's about two brilliant but very different parts of human culture, inventing new languages to tell the exact same story about the world they suddenly found themselves in.
I mean, when you lay it all out like this, the parallels are just undeniable. The poem's fragmentation is a perfect mirror of quantum superposition. The reader creating meaning is a dead ringer for the quantum observer collapsing the wave function. The poem's deep ambiguity reflects the universe's own fundamental uncertainty. Both worlds even have this idea of entanglement, where different parts are mysteriously connected. And at their core, they're both telling the story of a classical reality in total collapse.
And maybe that's the real takeaway here. When the world breaks, the human mind, whether it belongs to an artist or a scientist, instinctively gets to work trying to describe the same cracks. The wasteland and quantum physics, they're just two of the most profound, most honest maps of that brokenness that we've ever created.